to the latest episode of Gallifrey Pirate Radio, we're having a little twist here. It is Lunch with Gallifrey Pirate Radio. I am your host, David Beauchamp, and I'm joined by my exquisite co-host,
Drew Meyer.
And we are here today at lunch. We're going to talk about the 50th anniversary episode proper, finally.
So let's be clear too. We are talking about the Day of the Doctor.
Yeah, Day of the Doctor.
Because there's a lot going on with the 50th.
Yeah.
We'll have a separate program for that.
Yeah, we'll be talking about Adventures in Space and Time by itself.
We're going to be talking about it a little bit this time because we can't help it. It has been a really good week for to be a Doctor Who fan.
Very good week. So, what are your general impressions of GPR or of GPR of
I like it, but the hosts suck.
Day of the Doctor?
I liked it a lot. I thought that it was an absolutely fitting celebration of 50 years of Doctor Who. Now, that is just as a whole. I thought it was emotionally very satisfying. As far as story is concerned and logistics and inclusions of things and exclusions of things, yeah, I have some complaints and I have some notes and yada yada yada, but as a whole, just off the top of my head, I really liked it. I was not disappointed at all.
Yeah.
I went in with very high expectations.
Yeah.
Even from our last show where we did our predictions, you can tell based off our predictions all the things that they could have added.
Yeah.
And thankfully they did not, because it would have just been a mess. And I'm going to have to say that of all the anniversary episodes of Doctor Who, I'm going to go ahead and say this is my favorite. So.
I loved it. I liked it a lot. I was very pleased. I had a lot of fun with it. Every time we saw it in all of its different venues. I loved it. So before we get into this, stuff that we really liked or stuff that stuff that was just like wow, were our predictions. Because I know you're usually the more critical of the two of us. What were some of the things you did not like about it?
The funny thing is, I think if you go back and watch early GPR, I think I'm the least critical of the group. And then watching this, and I will say this, and I've mentioned it before, I think when you actually watch a show with a critical eye and do reports on it, you have a tendency to, criticize it. And not criticize, and I'm not saying criticism as a bad thing, but criticism as an actual
As
art.
real criticism.
Yeah, as real criticism. What things I didn't like about it? Oh, okay. If I had to have one major complaint, there's a couple things. One, War Doctor, I did not find to be very war-like.
Yeah.
He gets a gun, he fires it into a wall, he drives... by the way, spoilers, if you haven't seen The Day of the Doctor, go ahead and turn this off now, because we are going to spoil it all.
Yeah.
So I didn't think it was very warlike. I would have liked to have seen something that... now, I'm not saying that because they call him the War Doctor, and by the way, the name War Doctor is incredibly important, and we'll talk about that a little later on. But I would have liked to see him be a little bit more aggressive, I think. Something that separated him from being other Doctors.
Well, I would have liked to see him earlier in the war, when he was the War Doctor. It didn't have to be right after he regenerated from 8 to the War Doctor, but, I would like to have seen him be the War Doctor, not at the end of him being the War Doctor.
Well, yes, in some aspects. But I also think that giving these lost years of the War Doctor is going to be able to do what every other Doctor has had, and that is the potential for fans to create lost episodes. Mm-hmm. And I think we have his creation in Night of the Doctor, and then I think we have the kind of realization and bookend, the ending of the War Doctor with this one. We don't have a complete story, and it will give us years and years and years to fill in those blanks.
So people that want to do a fan film, please contact us on GPR, because we have a very well done up War Doctor here. As you saw a few times now, we've had him on screen as the War Doctor, and a ton of photographs of him as the War Doctor. So
it's a really doable cosplay. That's my first attempt at cosplay.
You looked really good.
I thought it worked out pretty well, and of course all thanks go to my wife for helping with that. So All right, other things that are disappointment to me. No, well, okay, I liked it, and again, as a whole, it's one of those things where, I mean, Facebook and social media, and I'm not on a lot of it, but, you know, everyone seemed to really like it. I haven't heard anyone have unkind words for it, but I think that the honeymoon will end fairly soon, and people will go back and go, hey, wait a second. And one of the things that they're going to comment about is Queen Elizabeth I.
Mm-hmm.
And while I thought the actress, whose name now has completely left my head, did a fine job, considering all the other women who have played Elizabeth I, I think that she was a comedic thing, and honestly, the whole thing with the Zygon, of her taking over her impersonating a Zygon, which I think was a funny twist. I didn't feel that we in any way got that she was capable of doing that. And not because she was a woman and not because she was a queen. It's just that, you know, I've watched Doctor Who. I know a lot about Zygons, but if suddenly I had to was replaced by it, and I defeated my Zygon clone, and I had to go into a Zygon base and pretend I was a commander, I couldn't have done it. So, you know, it's a kind of a niggling complaint, but and then UNIT. I don't have not a complaint on UNIT because that would be the science version of UNIT, but I felt that it was kind of, I don't know, there were little bits and pieces, and the kind of the Zygon story, which I really loved, kind of just ends. But I'll talk about that later. But yeah, so I didn't have a whole lot to complain about, but I think, you know, Liz 1 and not enough war in the War Doctor.
Yeah.
I think those are the two. And please don't make me think I didn't like Liz 1. I needed to find something to complain about, and that would be one of them.
You know, I really don't have a lot to, you know, nothing really jumps out at me that really bothered me. Because, you know, you're more critical. I mean, not in a bad way.
Yeah.
You know, you're watching it with that critical eye. And, you know, I wasn't so long for the ride. And I've watched it 3 times now, and I've enjoyed the ride each time. I mean, honestly, I think if I had any complaints about it, is that there were certain things that we didn't get. But that's just me.
Well,
I mean, that's a whole other thing. I mean, for the episode itself, I loved it. I had fun with it. Oh, God. I mean, it was a roller coaster ride every time I watched it. The surprises. Yeah, I mean, really, there's not a lot. Except, honestly, if I had one complaint, is the Zygon story just fell out.
Yes, and I agree. I think that for those who, if you had never watched Doctor Who, well, again, why would you go and see this if you'd never watched Doctor
exactly,
Who?
Yeah.
Other than the fact that you have loved ones who are going to sit down and watch this.
Yeah.
If you never watched Doctor Who, it's probably going to be a confusing mess, and it's not going to mean anything to you. But if you are a Doctor Who fan and you are going to be watching the show in the future, I think that story will go somewhere. I just don't think.
Yeah. Well, I know. I mean, it's just like with the Silence, or not the Silence.
Silurians.
The Silurians, or the Great Intelligence. You know, Moffat likes to build on things, and honestly, like I've been saying, I feel like this is part 2 of a trilogy. And you know, and honestly, I think the thing. Let's jump over to what we like and what we thought it did great. Is I think it did a great thing of setting the tone of what's to come next.
Yeah. Well, I think that's one of the things that I like about Doctor Who as a show, and why my complete obsessive fandom has been so strong, is it's a show where you don't necessarily know what's going to happen next, because the show can, by its very nature, be anything. And so now we have this story arc. Well, we know that we're going to lose Matt Smith, and we're not 100% sure how that's going to happen. And we know we're going to get Peter Capaldi, and we don't even know what he's going to look like or how he's going to act, and so there's this uncertainty there.
Yeah.
And now we have this whole new thing that started up with the potential of finding Gallifrey, and so we have this something to really look forward to. And you're right, it's a setup, but it's not set up going, well, this is going to happen.
Right.
We have all of this ahead of us.
Yeah, because I mean, that's the great thing with Moffat is, and I'm glad, honestly, I want to say this, I think it's better that Moffat wrote this than, let's say, Davies. Moffat really likes to plan ahead, you know, sort of paint this huge picture. Oh, it's almost like a sandbox. And, you know, we're seeing pieces of a sandbox right now, where he may want to take it. Because, you know, we don't know how long Moffat's going to be there. We don't know how long Capaldi's going to be there. Or Capaldi is going to be there. So, I mean, I think he really opened the door, not only for himself, but for other people that will come after him, to tell stories.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the great things about Moffat is I felt Davies was very, very narrow in his storytelling, very linear, and I think Moffat has just been like, welcome to my sandbox.
Yeah. Well, there's disadvantages to that as well. I think Moffat has created this sandbox, but we don't get to play in all of his sandbox. We only get to play in what he shows us. And I think he's opened up certain sections of the sandbox that we might not visit again, and I think that's a problem.
Exploding TARDIS.
All right, we'll get to that one of the things we did not get, but we still have the Christmas.
Yeah,
we still have the Christmas,
we got
and
Christmas.
we still have the Christmas, and we potentially get it during the Capaldi part.
Yeah.
I feel really weird eating in front of the camera. I feel it's very unprofessional. Just understand that due to the 50th anniversary and the holidays, we don't have time to set aside to actually record in a nice atmosphere. So we of course, we work at the same library. We are eating on our lunch break. So I do apologize. I feel very unprofessional about it, but I want to get to what we.
Okay,
all right,
so let's do it.
Previous episode, we came up with predictions, things that we were hoping or wanted to see, and
I just want to say, I was right about Capaldi. I was right about the. Do we want to call? I mean, I don't even know what to call him. The 12th Doctor.
Okay.
I was right about that. We got Capaldi.
All right, so I'm going to go in the order.
Okay, yeah.
So if you're watching the show, so regeneration into Eccleston. Yes, so we got a regeneration into Eccleston.
We did.
So you were right on that. We both. That's what we wanted to see.
Yeah.
I was right in saying that we were going to see to start the regeneration, but
Yeah.
we weren't actually going to get Eccleston. Yeah. That would have been. And another thing, disappointing. If I had a major complaint, I wish we could have gotten Eccleston back. But this is not the fault of anyone on the production staff. Eccleston didn't want to come back or couldn't come back. I think actually Moffat and the after party has basically said that it was Eccleston wouldn't come back.
Yeah, exactly. Remember, you wrote that letter to the fans saying that he read the script, he didn't like the script, so he wasn't coming back. And I'm sorry. I enjoyed it.
Wow, I didn't see that one at all.
Yeah, no, he made this statement, and I'm just like,
oh, wow.
I don't... Because I think the War Doctor part, I mean, it would have been tweaked, but I think that was supposed to be all of Eccleston.
Yes, but the way it worked, I think it worked better without Eccleston.
I agree.
And
I love what we got. I thought John Hurt did a phenomenal performance. I'm glad he's now in there, and it leaves the door open to him coming back later on.
Well, I would be fine never seeing him again, and I like that, but, I agree with you. It does open the door. I'm going to put this aside because I want to talk about the War Doctor real quick.
Okay, let's talk about the War Doctor.
So, the War Doctor,
Yeah.
as shown, I don't know if it was how originally written, if this was, Moffat's grand idea, but the War Doctor is obviously the personification of classic Doctor Who.
Mm-hmm.
With a faux hawk, which seems so out of place. But the War Doctor is obviously, that bridge between classic Who and new Who, and it is both story-wise and linear-wise,
and also personality-wise.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Personality-wise, so we get to he's almost also the personification of classic Who fans too.
I agree.
But he's such a beautiful story element because we have a reason why, and we're just skip 9, but we're going to say that why 10 and 11 are the way they are, childish, progressively getting younger because they're moving away from this old man, and this movie allows them to grow up, and when they grow up, of course, they end up as Capaldi.
I know, it just hit me. It just hit me.
Yeah, so I think that's really cool. I think that as a story device that works very well, I think that Moffat definitely must have intended it as such. But his just comments on things too. And I love the fact that when the episode ends, I'm still going to call it an episode. Story. When the story ends, none of the Doctors, save perhaps Smith, are aware that anything changed.
Exactly.
And I really like that because it wasn't a reset button. It's not the Big Bang.
No, it wasn't.
Everything happened the way it did. The only difference is that instead of it actually being blown up, it's not. And which is great because before it even happens, before the plan is executed, we see the results of the plan because all the kids are looking up at the sky and it's a different sky and things are calm. And that happened while they were talking, almost like the narration of what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Well, I mean, and the thing is what I loved about this, and I think it was the brilliance of Moffat's writing style, is he didn't do what Davies did. the Doctor just always assumed that he had done this thing during the Time War, and then it also goes ahead and explains why we have dialects running about when they should be locked away.
Yeah, there's no time lock.
There's no time lock. He just thought he had done the time lock.
And the only ones who actually got time locked was the Gallifreyan High Council from End of Time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, it does create a little bit of a weirdness in where did this happen in Tennant's timeline.
Yeah.
And I assume it's because he didn't have a companion.
Yeah.
And the only time he doesn't have a companion is during the specials, so it's sometime in the specials. I'd like to think it's between Waters and Mars and End of Time. It would have been almost interesting had some way they managed to figure out a way to get Tennant into a Hawaiian shirt and a lei, so that, like, because it sets up. We'll get to the regeneration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
All
let's
right.
go back to our list.
More Paul McGann. We both want to see that.
Oh, one thing is we're talking about Paul McGann, since you mentioned that. There was actually, somebody has actually created, at the bunch of Whovians, you know how they have those sites where you could do the petitions?
Mm-hmm.
Somebody has done a petition to get McGann back on some spin-off stories. And all I have to say is, Big Finish Audio.
Well, I think if there's one thing we've learned from Big Finish is they have no interest in Paul McGann at all.
No, none whatsoever.
No, the idea of actually inviting him to do any kind of audio of anything.
No.
Well, hey, online fans and their petitions. Thank God, let's just say that all of them were not honored.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this. Doctor Who or the universe used to support 3 shows. We had Sarah Jane, we had Doctor Who, we had Torchwood.
Mm-hmm.
I think very easily we could, bring back McGann and do some early stories, or whatever they want to do. I think he can support another show, and I think it's about time. Be it the what are they called, Jenny Strax?
The Paternoster Gang.
Yeah, I mean that would be nice. I mean, it would be nice to see a second show, more of a kid-friendly show. I mean, you can't do that with McGann, by no means.
But Jenny and Strax.
Yeah, I know, but it would be nice to see. I would like to see some other Who shows, some spin-offs,
right?
Because it's shown that it's worked in the past. Why not again?
Well, part of that was very much indicative of RTD's time.
Yeah.
And having one is very indicative of Moffat's time. That being said, I think if we were to find a happy medium there, I think McGann webisodes, shorts where it's minimum cast, not a lot of production.
Yeah.
The BBC is notoriously cheap. I think once we get all the numbers, and we don't have the final numbers, we have viewing figures, but we don't have online figures, we don't have from last night's figures from the 25th viewing of the theaters. I think the BBC will finally realize that they've got a moneymaker here, and I know you were talking about the potential for Christmas episodes coming out in the theaters, something along those lines. I think that we'll see a greater commercialization of it, and we'll see.
Well, I mean, the simulcast in 94 countries.
Yeah.
I mean, that says a lot right there.
Yeah.
Okay, where do we got next?
You wanted to see the 12th Doctor in a cameo somewhere in the background. Not a major part, but somewhere in the background.
Yeah.
Well, you were wrong about the background.
Yeah, I know.
But you were right about the cameo. And,
Yeah.
and I think that was a very interesting. I think it's going to be one of those things. The 50th has this great momentum shift, but also in the same way, it almost feels like a Christmas episode, where the Christmas episodes you kind of go, that was fun.
Yeah.
And you can forgive weird little eccentricities and weird story hiccups. So we have what I can only assume is a very angry, I'm going to call him the 13th Doctor, but that's for later. I'll tell you later. Showing up. So that was cool.
Yeah.
I don't ever have to see justification for why he knew it was happening. I assume that all 13 Doctors knew about the plan because of their relationship with Clara and the fact that Clara, from the name of the Doctor, has been in everyone's timeline. Let's just hand wave. We're done.
Yeah, no, I mean, well, he's the one that comes next, so, I mean, he would know. He would have those memories.
He would have those memories.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, ontological paradox, but that's fine.
It's Doctor Who.
Tennant and Liz 1's relationship explained. Yeah, that was a major part of the story, and we also got to have Liz, and I think if you mentioned, we got to see Liz 1 also be a Zygon. I thought that was fine. I thought it was very cute. You wanted to see the Sims to Cumberbatch Master Regeneration.
Yeah. Didn't happen.
Boy, thank God it didn't, because can you imagine if you had thrown the Master into the mix of all that? That would have just been...
It would have been a clusterfuck.
Yep.
Sorry.
I wasn't going to say it.
I don't usually say... I try to keep the profanity down, but
reasons good reason to see the Zygons appear in future Doctor Who. I think it's safely
Yeah.
to say. And what I'd like to see, predictions, go ahead now. I would like to see that small number of Zygons, because I think, we have that story, no one knows who's who, but then Osgood has the scarf. We should talk about the scarf too after the list. Osgood has the inhaler. She hands it back to the Zygon and says,
Yeah.
Shh, which means that I'm going to assume that the negotiations are going to probably be fairly successful. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to see a unit episode where one of the unit operatives is in fact a Zygon working for unit. Okay?
I want to see Loch Ness Monster now.
Well, that was something I feel was sorely missed, is no Saracen, but that's okay. The Valyard. No, we didn't get the Valyard. If we don't get Valyard in the Christmas episode, that's fine. I think one of the things that we're going to get is a new iteration of Doctors. We might get a new 13 regenerations
Yeah.
or a reward. So maybe he comes in between these second iterations.
That's interesting. It's Christmas time, a Christmas miracle.
God, please don't let it be, how did you get all your lives back? Christmas miracle. And next. No, that would be bad. But
Well, it's Moffat. It's Christmas time. There's no telling.
we did not get an answer to the TARDIS explosion.
Very sad. Very, very sad about that.
That's okay. We may
We-
very well get it
in
either
Christmas.
in Christmas, or because Moffat is still a showrunner, we might get it in a Capaldi
Yeah.
episode.
I want that explained.
We did not get an appearance of K9, or did we? I'm not 100% sure.
We need to take a look at that board.
Yeah, look,
That
it's the internet.
board-
I haven't looked, but there's probably a frame by frame.
Well, there's no good shot of the board.
Is there not?
There's not one good shot of the board because I already would have screen capped it and stuff like that. That's one thing I've looked at on the two subsequent showings I've seen. You'd never get a clear shot of the board.
Well, let's take a look at what we do get to see on the board.
Yeah.
Number one, we get to see Chameleon.
Chameleon. Oh my God. Oh,
right
were
next to the brig.
Yeah.
From, I think it looks like Survival.
It was either. I almost thought it was Battlefield.
Oh, Battlefield. That's what I
Yeah.
meant. Yeah. Battlefield.
Yeah. No, I'll say this. I was not
It's
expecting
not in Survival.
Chameleon.
No.
I mean, honestly, but
We did get to see Susan Foreman. We got to see Ian. We got to see, I'm sure there's a Barbara in there.
you know, yeah, Barbara's right
We
underneath.
saw Sarah
Susan.
Jane. We
Yeah.
saw Annika
We saw
Wills.
Perry.
We saw Perry. There's a lot of folks.
Nissa Tegan. I mean, I really hope they did take a shot of that board that they're going to show us later on,
Yeah.
so we can actually see it.
Oh,
You saw Rory. You saw Amy on that board.
there's a picture of them from Marco Polo on that board, which is kind of neat. All right.
Do you
What
think it's
makes
actually him?
No, I just think it's a good picture of them, and it might have been inspired by Adventures in Space and Time. Though you got to wonder who took the picture during Marco Polo. Who was like, "Hey guys."
It could have been Telesnap.
No, I'm saying in the actual storyline.
Oh.
Who among Marco Polo's entourage
Oh my goodness.
has a camera? That's now that you're
Oh no,
there.
time window.
Time
With the
window.
TARDIS.
There you go. Time
Yeah,
window. Fantastic.
We'll just do a time window.
Yeah. So we also, let's talk about the Black Archive, because we're kind of right there. We're talking about the
Yeah.
board. We got Riversong shoes from Flesh and Stone.
Okay, I was trying to figure
Ages.
out where the shoes are from.
We got Amy's whirligig from 11th Hour. I saw
The Cybermen head.
the Cyberman head.
Which I honestly, I hate to say it, I wonder if that is a tie into the Christmas.
Could very well be.
Because if you look at the promo picture,
Well, it's a different Cyberman head.
yeah, I know, but I mean, I'm just wondering if that's.
By the way,
why.
the Christmas picture's out, so
Yeah.
we'll already posted it on the site.
No.
We got the mag clamps, and I don't remember what story that's from. They're the giant, you hold them and you can move things around. No clue. I remember seeing them going, I recognize those. What else did I see? Oh, we got the Vortex Manipulator.
Yes.
We got a nice Captain Jack reference. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So all around, and actually this would be a good time to mention Osgood. Now, I can't remember. I think it's Lauren Oliver. I know it's Oliver. She's a comedian.
Yeah.
Osgood. She's got a Fourth Doctor scarf on. Now, this is how I'm interpreting this. My interpretation is if she works for UNIT, UNIT's been working with the Doctors. So I assume she is like Malcolm, who did get a reference, which I thought was brilliant. Malcolm from the Planet of the Dead. I assume like Malcolm, she's a fan of the Doctor. The fourth Doctor was her favorite Doctor, so she just had a scarf. You know, I made up. I have no idea if it's a correct scarf or what iteration is. I didn't get a chance to look at it. I haven't done the research yet. I don't have my own personal copy yet. So
That's
yeah.
next week.
Next week.
Next week.
Okay. We did not get Romana.
I know.
And a great thing too, because man, I think that would have been ridiculous.
Well,
but
what I'm wondering now, because of what happened to the to Gallifrey, and them talking about other dimensions again, because we really don't know where he's going to pull Romana from. We don't know if if they're going to bring her back. This is just speculation on my part, nobody else's. Because the last thing they saw on the TV show, which is what most people are familiar with, is she was off on E-Space. Wouldn't it be great if she's the one that has Gallifrey?
oh, the pocket dimension?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that'd be great.
I mean, and that'd be a great way
cool.
to bring her back. Because honestly, they could have thrown her in there in the background in the War Council. But yeah,
That would have caused an uproar.
Yeah, but most people don't know those are the backstories. So I think it would be great if she was still in E-Space when we find her. She's the one that has Gallifrey. Because what a better sort of bringing her back, bringing Gallifrey back, bringing it all back with her, or maybe Master Rani. I mean, there's so much potential with those other dimensions.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the nice things that Moffat did with this is there were callbacks to a lot of classic.
Oh yeah.
There's actually callbacks to a lot of modern Who, New Who too,
Yeah.
which I thought was really cool. The machine that goes ding.
Yeah.
The horse that the Zygon was
Yeah.
may actually have been Arthur from The Girl in the Fireplace.
Yeah.
But what I think it is, the show, even though it respected what happened in the past, it really felt like it was a show that was showing us a look forward.
Yeah.
And I really dug that. We did not get the mysterious voice in the TARDIS, and honestly, I could care less. The Time Lock was not released, but we both wanted to see the Time Lords back, but in a different way. So I think we kind of got
Well,
that.
the time lock never happened,
Right.
which is a great thing. I mean, so I think we were right and wrong on that one.
Right. Unspecific fan service.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was of all of them, that was the one that was a gimme.
Yeah.
Time War as their attempts to deal with the genesis of the dogs. That's actually a complaint of mine, is that I didn't want to see the Time War.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're going to call it the Time War, it shouldn't have been a chronologically linear battle.
Yeah, I agree.
That's really dumb. It's not a time war. Just because you're fighting the Time Lords doesn't really.
Yeah.
Well, I guess if it's the Vietnam War, we were fighting in Vietnam, but I think that it could have been done very creatively,
Yeah.
but also that would have taken up so much more of the story.
Yeah.
So I'm fine the way it was. Whatever. You want to see William Russell and Carolyn Ford? They were not in this, but they were in An Adventure in Space and Time.
Yeah, that I'm gonna have to go back and see and listen to them.
Here's, you want me to tell you who
Yeah,
they were?
yeah, tell me who they were.
In the very beginning, Brian Cox as Cindy Newman parks his car and Reg, the security guard, says you need to pass. That's William Russell.
Oh wow!
And then I didn't catch it at first, but they show him again, and I was like, the voice sounded familiar. The one I did get is Carol Ann Ford. When they're showing the second episode of the Daleks, and you get that great scene where all the kids are running home, and there's a woman in her house calling her children, and I think she says, "Anthony, come into the house." That show you want to see is on. That's Carol Ann Ford.
Oh wow! I can't wait to go back and watch that.
So there's that. Rose is not Rose. Yeah.
Okay, tell them your theory. Tell them your theory.
Oh.
You gotta tell them the theory.
And again, this is not something I want necessarily to happen, but
I heart this theory.
Of course you heart this theory. All right. So Rose is a device. She's not even Rose. She's basically the super bomb from the movie Dark Star. She's a super intelligent weapon. She's called the Moment. The Moment has been prepared for, is what we have from the regeneration from 4 to 5. And since we get to see Baker at the end, some connection there. Maybe she's a watcher because she's wearing white. The more I think about it, the more fan wank-tastic that appears. And even though Moffat probably consciously called her the Moment because of that, it's also Moffat messes with us on purpose. I mean, he gets joy from it. If he, I mean, you want a perfect example of how he does it? There is a doctor that exists between 8 and 9, right?
Yeah.
And even though they call him the War Doctor, the question now is going to be, do we have to renumber all of our guidebooks? Do we have to renumber all the figures? And I don't believe so.
No.
I believe that even though in my theory is that Matt Smith is the 13th Doctor due to regenerations, he's run out of his regenerations. He's still the 11th Doctor. And, he's still 11. We still have 10. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. War 9, 10, 11. And then if you include the weird handy almost regeneration, include that. And and again, what Moffat did is he didn't entirely retcon RTD's era. He took a couple of points from it. He tweaked it. Most notably, of course, the Time War. Some relationships. I think it's very interesting that because the moment took the visage of Rose and only could be seen by the War Doctor, when the War Doctor then regenerates, the first thing he does, if we are led to believe, because he checks his ears, is that he goes and finds Rose. Like that, he goes and finds Rose, and he travels in London, which is he just traveled back in time just a little bit. Why he was suddenly knew about the plot. So anyway,
well, I'll say this: I thought Billie Piper was in magnificent form. I thought she was.
Are you talking about acting, or
acting? I thought she was just she did an incredible job with that role.
Yeah.
Actually, I would love to see her more. I would love to see her back again as the Moment before I see her back again as Billie Piper or as Rose.
No, I never want to see her as Rose again. I'm sorry, people who really like Rose. Her story's over. I don't want to see Amy and Rory ever again. I don't want to see Billie Piper ever again until it's an anniversary story when they can bring them up for some grand design. But if we, and it's a hard thing to say as a fan, but if we keep living in the past, we're never going to get new stuff.
Exactly.
And it's the new stuff that makes us excited to be fans. So, if you're going to see her as the Moment, fine. But I figure that moment is past. But maybe not. So I think all told, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 out of 10.
Yeah,
or whatever.
We did pretty good.
Yeah, and it's not a contest. I mean, if I wanted to make predictions that I knew I could get right, I'm sure I could have made very small predictions.
Well,
but
honestly, I thought the Capaldi one was one of my more sillier ones that I wasn't actually expecting. But when we got it, I was just like, jaw drop.
Well, it's a show about time travel. It's the first time we've been able to do that, and I'm sure Moffat had it in plans once he knew that Matt was leaving, that the next Doctor would show up, and they did a great job.
Yeah.
We don't know anything about him other than he has eyes.
Yes, 2 of them.
2 of them.
Yes.
Oh my.
And he has a thingy.
And a thingy.
A thingy that
he
goes
pulls on.
that pulls.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's about it. And he has a hand. We know he has at least one hand. The other one could be a hook. It could be a sonic screwdriver in there. Who knows?
Oh, sonic screwdriver. Wow, way to make a really boring sonic screwdriver there, guys.
Hey, it's still better than the second.
You know what? Until I saw it in the second viewing, I thought it was the second Doctor's.
Yeah.
I thought it was basically a pen light. And I would have been very cool with that. I'm like, oh, hopefully that'll be cheap. But that one's very I don't know. I like the third and the fourth ones with the little and on the top and the.
Well, no, I do too. I don't like the toy of the third one because it's just so bulky and so gaudy. But speaking of the third one, I have a question for you. I thought the kids around the maypole that they were doing, it shot me right back to the Damons.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I like the Damons.
Oh, I really don't like the Damons.
I like the
And again,
Damons.
I like small town Satanism, but I found that to be a really boring story.
Yeah.
But
so what else do we have to discuss about the 50th? Do we want to talk a little bit?
Tom Baker!
Oh, well, really? Do we have to? No. Tom Baker comes. Tom Baker as a curator, I'm going to say it, as a future incarnation of the Doctor.
Is that what you got out of it? Now, explain what you're talking about.
Well, he basically says, in his little speech or dialogue, I can't recite it perfectly, but, he's like, I could be you could be me, or we could be one and the same. I mean, especially after Matt Smith says, I could be the curator of this museum, blah, 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 blah. Baker shows up with that voice, and everybody in the theater was like, oh! I was just like, that was pretty awesome.
Well, not in the theater.
No.
Not in the theater. I think it's not until they show him, because I think a lot of people aren't as familiar
There were
with
a
him.
few people around us that got the voice, but yeah, no. And he also says, revisit a few old faces, which Romana, she can choose what she looks like. Why can't the Doctor, which I think is great, choose one of his old faces again?
Sure. He's going to choose Peter Capaldi's here. Not too long.
Exactly, and I think that's the easiest way to explain it. He liked a face, he wants to go with it.
Oh my God! I committed all of Space and Time, and I chose that one. I know. I think you agree. I think it's a future Doctor. He decided to come back, though. I understand for the fans, this is a wonderful moment. This feels like a Christmas episode.
Yeah.
Story-wise, it doesn't make a lick of sense. The Doctor. What is the Doctor's main motivation? To travel the world and see things. What are you never expecting to see the Doctor do? Settle down and hang out in a museum.
Well, it could be that one regeneration.
Sure.
Because the personality changes. Maybe he finally decided after we don't that could be the 150th incarnation of the Doctor for all we know.
Or if we're following along with the movie credits, the pre-credits, the 58th, because we already know that for the 100th anniversary there will be 57 Doctors.
Yes.
That is the same number of
and be shown in 12
communists
dimensions
in Congress, according to the Manchurian Candidate.
Really? Could there be a connection?
Actually, yeah, but that's for I'll tell you about that later.
So yeah, I was thrilled. I thought that was a nice nod to him.
Oh yeah. Well, it's nice because he's the only Doctor who hasn't come back.
Yeah.
For a special, because we got wax sculpture and the time vortex that the Fez kept on popping out of. Didn't it remind me of the time scoop from Five Doctors?
A little,
but a horizontal. The horizontal time scoop.
Yeah. No, I thought it was nice because especially for us in America, that was the Doctor most of us started with.
No, absolutely.
Now, from actually doing research, there were some stations that did have some of the earlier stuff, but not a lot of them.
No. That's true.
So, a lot of people, their first Doctor was Baker.
Well,
and so that's a nice touch. I think he did it just because he's also one of the fans' favorite Doctors, but for us in the States, it's a connection point.
Oldest. He's the oldest Doctor.
Yeah, that's
he's
living.
The one who's run the longest.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if someone said we're going to bring back one of the classic Doctors to show up actually on screen, and this is of course in reference to the 50-ish Doctors, which you haven't seen, watch Davison, McCoy,
I need to see that.
Colin Baker, and McGann. You still haven't seen that?
No, still haven't seen it yet.
So you don't...
I have no context. I have not seen it.
Oh my God. Okay. Oh, Davey.
I think I just blew his mind for once.
No, it's just that there's something in that episode that makes the 50th even better.
Yeah, that's what you said.
You want all of the Doctors to appear on screen, and potentially they do, and not just in the CGI formats. They are there. So you'll have to watch that before you watch it again on your legally purchased copy of the Doctor. I feel like there's something really blatantly obvious that we're missing. Big points. Capaldi.
Yeah.
Baker. The numbering. I think we both in agreement that War is not 9, right? So we still have Eccleston's 9.
Yeah. Eccleston's still 9. I really can't think of anything that we're missing here. I think we should talk a little bit about the Christmas. Now that we've made it through. To me, what I'm saying is the midway point of this story that he's telling. What are you now expecting? And we did get the 11-second teaser, which was showing a bunch of monsters, and that was it.
Yeah, at the end of the movie. We know he's going back to Trenzalore. We know that Matt Smith is going to regenerate. I don't know. I don't want to say die. He'll fall.
Yeah.
I think the teaser says silence will fall. That'd be cool if the silence it explains. Because the nice thing is, the name of the Doctor did not answer any of the questions regarding the silence.
None.
None of the silence
Zero.
stories actually ever got answered. Silence will fall when the question is answered. So we're going to still get Doctor Who. And if Matt Smith is the last of the regenerations, who knows what's going to Who knows?
Yes.
Oh, Tom Baker, you are so Tom Baker. Oh, Rondel's in the TARDIS.
Oh my God, Rondel's in the TARDIS.
So we get the War Doctor has a TARDIS interior with the original Rondels. That was cool.
That was
and
really,
they
really cool.
They have no idea what the Rondels do. Now, for those of us who remember the Turlo saga, I can't remember what episode it is, but one of them, Turlo actually unscrews one of the Rondels, reaches in and gets some stuff. So
well, I mean, even in Castrovalva, they undo a Rondel to adjust the temperature. I mean, there's stuff behind. They're walls. They're access points and pieces in the walls. I mean, that's what they are. I mean, they're an easy way to get into the wiring of the TARDIS.
That is the most inefficient way to change the temperature. All right, what you do is unscrew that section wall, and then put it back.
Yeah.
So the Christmas. Yeah, I'm excited about Christmas. They have not given us enough to make any kind of predictions. The only thing we know for sure is we are getting Capaldi. His face is on the promo.
Well, they've also said we're getting Capaldi.
Sure. We're going to get a Cyberman.
Yes.
Because the footage they show is one that we haven't seen before. We're getting a new Cyberman. We're going to get Silence.
Yes.
Jenna Coleman's going to be in it. Oh, by the way, Jenna Coleman. At first viewing, I thought, man, she didn't do anything. And then I realized that her role was very subtle, but really is a cool companion. And while they didn't stress it enough, the fact that her character has met all the other doctors in one form or another became just instrumental to the whole thing.
Yeah.
So bravo, I think she did a great job. And I think the fact that...
I mean, just that one line about his eyes. She knew that he was the Doctor, and plus that he was a younger incarnation because of his eyes were so young.
Yeah, it's like River saying, I've never seen you look this young.
Yeah.
Yeah, your eyes. Yeah. It was good. I mean, it wasn't perfect, but it was what it was, and I enjoyed it.
And it looked really good on the big screen. I will say this, they were really smart about the way they did it. They actually shot it like a movie.
Yeah.
And it looked good on the big screen.
Bravo, Nick Hearn.
Yeah, and I'll also say this, one thing I noticed is they actually might have shot this in 3D and not converted. Because when we were watching the behind the scenes thing, they were actually watching the monitors as they were filming in 3D. So they might have actually had sprung for the expense, because I don't think you can convert that fast. I could be wrong. I don't know about the 3D conversion. I don't know how quick that is, how fast that process is. But I'm just going by what I saw in the after special.
Yeah, no, I agree. I thought it was really well done.
So I mean, what are you expecting out of the Christmas special? Besides the regeneration, just out of what we've seen so far, what would you like to see out of the Christmas special right now?
See, it's tricky because we're going to get a new Doctor at the end of the Christmas special, which means I want a story that gives Matt Smith's run. I want a good bookend.
Okay, yeah.
Right? But Christmas specials, by their very nature, have been relatively kind of fluffy.
Yeah.
And so what I don't want is too fluffy of an episode, but I don't want to be so dark that it doesn't feel like a Christmas episode, because we don't want the children crying and mourning, I mean, when you think that the end of time...
Well, they're going to. I mean, they're losing Matt Smith.
Right, but I don't want it to be a total downer. I want to feel like there's some hope. Like, whatever he does brings hope to the audience, rather than go, oh, Amy and Rory died 5 times in the same episode.
Well, see, that's why I'm wondering if Capaldi doesn't die... Or doesn't die. If Matt Smith doesn't regenerate halfway through the episode. Which I think would be interesting, because normally the Christmas episode is the new Doctor. So, but I mean, we still have to finish Matt's story. But I think it would be great, because we've never had a story like that. Where we get a regeneration halfway through, and he has to, pick up and run. As much as he can. And, I think that would be a far more interesting thing than, watch. We know at the end he regenerates. I'd rather be surprised by the regeneration. I mean, we know what's coming. We know what's happening. And I think that's the biggest problem I think that's what's so great about the the ninth Doctor's regeneration, is most of us had no idea it was coming. I had no idea it was coming. I mean, I was surprised. I was like, wow, he regenerated. Even though what happened at the end, it was a surprise, because it wasn't running rampant on the internet, the rumors and stuff. I would love to see a regeneration halfway through or 3/4 of the way through, so we just get a little bit of Capaldi in action, and just it'll change up the regeneration. You know what we get for regeneration. You know, it'd be different.
I'm going to go and split the difference and say, yeah, I think because it's Moffat. Anybody else would say no, but because it's Moffat, I think that a 3/4 regeneration, so that the regeneration and the introduction of the new Doctor is not the denouement, but actually becomes an integral part of solving the problem.
Yeah.
Like he gives up his life, and maybe and we meet Capaldi, and he runs around, and he does all this stuff, the problem's solved, and of course, you have a perfect person in Clara who has been a part of the Doctor's life, so she was not going to be surprised by the regeneration. But the fact that maybe we get a weird facial switchback or something where Capaldi's says, you know, the previous Doctor says this, he, you know, fondly of this.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the maybe even have him deliver the message, or he dies and changes back, and you know, yeah. I think it might be the focus of the end. I think that would be very cool.
Yeah. Okay. And I think one last big question about the Christmas special. Gallifrey or no Gallifrey?
My hope, no Gallifrey. I want this to be a plot point that's kind of hanging, that we move forward to, but I don't want it to be rushed.
Okay. And I think that's a good thing. Because honestly, I would like to see it be a 12th Doctor thing.
Yeah, well, we don't know how long we're going to have Capaldi, but
we don't.
Honestly, I would be fine if it was 5 years in before we get it, and it becomes how we slowly got teased what the Time War was, even though we never really got the answer until now.
Yeah,
I wouldn't mind being slowly teased for finding clues. I like a mystery. I love a mystery, so I think that would be really cool.
But I think that's about everything.
It's certainly a lot. Thank you so much for sitting in and hanging out with us for this long.
Yeah. For lunch too.
Well, we had a lot to cover, and of course, join us for the next episode where we will be talking about an adventure in space and time. Bring your hankies.
God, yeah, bring your hankies. So this is GPR signing off, and we hope you had a good lunch. Peace.
Happy holidays.